Hello.
Good morning.
Recording
Hello
2.
from the pony paddock.
Pony paddock.
It's windy and
Longer
rainy,
days.
so we might have some blustery sound effects, some real sound effects. That's me and Seabiscuit. How you going?
A little chaotic. Yesterday I had a site all-day training for a client, which went well. It was like the
Whose site?
first official one, just like their office in town.
At their office. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It went well. They're happy.
Cool.
I won't say easy. It's a lot of focus. A whole day sitting by somebody teaching them Fusion, but it went well. They were happy. Come back to like support questions, and primarily today trying to update our ATC pedestal guides, which are pretty good, but they're like kind of all over the place. So something I was gonna bring up.
A whole day of training, individual one-on-one training from you.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a incredibly valuable thing.
Oh, well, thank you. Hope so.
Wild.
Something I was considering, and then had somebody, I think I've mentioned it here, somebody reached out just kind of at the same time. I was like, oh yeah, maybe we should make that like officially a thing. Yeah, worked out well for both. So
cool. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
What are you up to?
Bitsy, super bitsy week. I feel quite unproductive at the end of it. Like I didn't get through nearly enough. Bits and bobs, a little bit of machining, critical sort of custom jobs that had to get done. Just wearing too many hats. But that's just the nature of the job now.
Oh yeah.
And like I'm wearing too many hats, just splitting my time between quoting gem and drawing gem and machining gem and what else? Marketing. Haven't done any of that, so that doesn't count. Yeah. Feel very spread too thin.
Mm-hmm.
And always unsatisfying to get to like Thursday night, Friday morning and only have half of target in the bank account. It's been like, damn it. Well, still, technically I've got Monday morning, the weekend and Monday morning to sort of catch up before I do distribution, but still. Whee!
Yeah. No, I know that feeling. Too many things to do at once. So what's interesting, I guess, from hearing you say that is like your current team setup when everybody's in the office is what you want it to be. It's an ideal scenario then, because you're not feeling that normally.
Yeah. Less so, yeah. No, it is partly just sort of because I'm covering machining for sure. Yeah. So, and, I've been kind of up until now, the last, 6 months or something, I've been really enjoying wearing all those hats. So I think it's probably just tipping a little bit over the edge at the moment and making me feel a bit overwhelmed. But
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, no, it's been okay.
Yeah, that's good. Part of just to like open the kimono a little bit more, I had to hire a new accountant for tax purposes this year. I found somebody, they didn't download my documents because of an encrypted link, and they said, oh, we don't download, it's like a single solopreneur person, don't download links because you can get hacked that way, and didn't tell me this. So basically after trying to catch up with them for 2 weeks on the deadline for the extension, they go, oh yeah, we didn't do anything yet. So I spent like all of the tax deadline just trying to get this person. I had to sit across from them and send them PDFs from one computer to another because they wouldn't take a flash drive either. And I was like, I don't have any of this physically. You need to take it digitally like everybody in 2024. And so I won't be using them again. But I was just like, that set the tone for my week, I think. my fault in some regard for not having it more prepared sooner with another company, I guess. But good Lord.
Yeah, I got frustrated with our accountant yesterday too. He's got a long-term accountant and generally very happy, but I did, and to preface this, it's nothing to do with them. I just had a moment of like, got a scare. Like we had a situation years ago, like I don't know how long ago, 8 years ago or something, where which I think you call it 401k or something. We call it superannuation. It's compulsory that we pay
retirement
employees. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Super. And the government is, understandably very strict about any late payments because that money is supposed to be, gaining interest in the person's account. A long time ago, we had a couple of transfers that were delayed in transfer by like 2 days. Mm-hmm. Intermittent little payments that we, hadn't made it through the super clearinghouse, right? Yeah, exactly on time. Not a big deal, but we didn't know that was an issue at all, and there's no feedback in the system that you've missed those dates. It's quite opaque. And about 5 years after the fact, this thing came up and our accountant was saying, oh, hey, by the way, they're running this superannuation amnesty thing at the moment. So if you've had any issues in the past, you can just pay out the missing super and they won't fine you.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know anything about this. Tell me more. Turns out we can, because of like crazy compound interest, $25,000 later in fines. We're like, right, well, that's sorted. And it was all like, yeah, like we had no idea. It was just like completely opaque. And that was without like the heavy-handed fines that they usually slap on such things. And it's I believe in this system because it stops people doing dodgy shit.
Right.
But it's just so opaque that, someone trying to do the right thing but not knowing the intricacies of the system can stuff it up and get hit that hard. Anyway, had a scare yesterday where I got an email from the accountant saying, oh, that failed super batch that went out 18 months ago, that needed to be reported to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I just had this moment of like, what the like, I know it's not your job to tell me this, but how else? Yeah, I don't know. Small business, eh? Whee!
Yeah, right.
Anyway, it was all fine. This situation yesterday, Sarah had reported it at the time and it was fine, but far out, gave me a fright.
Yeah. There's so many of those kind of things, like not to fall down this rabbit hole of complaining about the small business woes, but I'm sure others deal with this kind of stuff too, where it's just like absolutely wild that when you're trying to do the right things, it feels like you need to spend a significant amount of time basically like proactively checking in to make sure things are still working right. Like we had I think I might have mentioned, maybe I mentioned it here, but a couple of years back now, we had got our payroll provider basically proactively tried to get us a credit through the government and we didn't qualify for it. Their calculation was wrong. And I ended up spending tens of hours talking to government entities trying to undo it, like the IRS. And it was never a thing that I wanted to opt into in the first place. It just happened on their own and they couldn't seem to fix it. It's just like, nice of you to try to help us, but like you really made a mess of things. Yeah, there's just always that kind of stuff.
This is someone that had cold called you to try and get this thing? Or?
No. So we have like a techie payroll provider called Gusto. It basically just connects to my bank and like Xero and lets me be a payroll expert without knowing anything about it. And it does all the taxes and stuff.
Yep.
It's largely a great service. I love it. However, this one time they like overreached basically and Like it was basically like a thing where like I didn't opt out of it, and they just were like, "Yeah, this will help you out," like in their minds, and it was not helpful.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
What happened to your
fun times?
What happened to your shop this week? You have anything good? Could you make anything good other than our complaints about taxes?
Woodworking. Had a good meeting with the rep from Crafted Hardwoods, which is that new like laminated solid timber that I've been mucking around with. Super interesting product. Anyway, we've been doing more tests with that, successfully machining it on the pencil sharpener and getting good resolution on the threads and stuff. So we've started doing some small prototype batches of dowels and testing that through the hot wax dipper. And yeah, I think we'll probably bring out like a special edition products in the next few weeks that is that stock, because we've got a standing purchase order with Porter, who are like main dowel supplier until the end of the year. So we've got, guaranteed supply until January, I think it is. So yeah, not quite sure how we'll transition to this new stock, but pretty keen to at some point swap over, because it just seems like a much more responsible resource than full, virgin forest stock. So yeah, a bit of that, bit of just running shelves, like lots of our slot together shelves at the moment, custom ones. Loving my new script in Rhino that's like doing all the little Boolean connection. Remember I described that Fusion script that I made recently doing all the Booleans?
Yep.
I've now taken that whole process over into Rhino.
Wow.
Just because I'm modeling, you model faster in Rhino. And so you can place all those little Boolean chopping tools infinitely faster in Rhino than doing a million joints in Fusion. And so we've kind of designed our way out of needing parametric stock control in a lot of our products and projects, just because of the nature of the work we're doing. And so I'm in a bit of a spot at the moment where I'm like, do we take all our production modeling back to Rhino and just do machining out of Fusion?
Yep.
Rather than, potentially be wasting time making parametric models in Fusion that so often only get used once anyway, or like recycled only to a point. Don't know. Been thinking about that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those thoughts came up in training this client that had basically only AutoCAD experience, and it's always amazing, like the people that have done that for a while, they were capable of like designing packaging with a bunch of like inserts and folds purely in 2D, like basically like doing most of it in their head with like offsets and material tolerances and very complicated. And so then when we went over like how to do it in sheet metal, they were very excited about it. And it took like, even with the training slowness, like less than 10 minutes to recreate one of the boxes that probably took them like all day to make prior. It's like fun stuff like that. It's cool to see like that, how effective it was. But then a couple other things that came up, like their process is often designing, let's say like assemblies of things to get cut on printed, cut, laser cut, CNC routed. And so a lot of it ends up being programmed in 2D, very specific, machine specific programming tools, like on machine often for like certain types of like cutting machines. So they just need like a 2D boundary file almost with like simple pockets. And so I was actually struggling quite a bit to come up with a solution out of Fusion that would make that easy. Because like they were very excited about the parametric modeling and configurations, and we went all through that. But then I was like, all right, how do I get this to my operators who program it? And I was like, do that. We usually do all that programming in machine, and they don't make that. I realized that Fusion doesn't make that easy because it's not really a workflow that they're selling,
no.
right? So I messaged you when I was in the middle of it, and incidentally came up with one of their other people at the shop that used Fusion app boards for this. And I haven't dug into it myself, but for what we talked about, it sounded really great. So if you're looking for a way to make 2D part files basically from Fusion stuff, you can use Mapboards, the plugin, to lay everything flat. And then there's a DXF export mode. Because a lot of what I was doing was like projecting to a sketch, and you would like lose so many things on accident, or like it was messy in terms of the output quality.
If you forget to pick an edge,
right,
that feature's gone. Yeah, totally.
A lot of, and it just feels stupid, honestly. Like you have all this data rich stuff, and then like you're just then doing it again backwards. I haven't tested this out. I was thinking about trying it myself and maybe even making a video, because I feel like it is a fairly popular workflow for a lot of companies that might need this. You know, you've got this great modeling system, but then there's really no great way to export 2D stuff out of Fusion. Anyway, that's your thing. It's really cheap.
Yeah, I'm curious. It's curious to try it and see if it works, because I've always seen that button. I've used Mapboards for years, and I've always seen that DXF drop down, and I don't think I've ever tried it to look at what it does. But yeah, I feel like it's a pretty common workflow, particularly if you're coming to Fusion for the first time from 2D profile-based CAM programming, which most of them are.
Yep.
It's, cool.
Yeah, it's funny, as my first thought was, before this person brought this up, was I guarantee you the script can be made for this. And I was kind of mentioning that. I was like, if this is worth it, like we can go down the path of figuring it out, I think. And then they were like, here's a plugin that somebody else made, you know, like that's really popular already.
That's what I thought you were selling me when you sent me that message. I was like, I was just waiting for the next message. It was like, well, I've made a script
I have
that
a
does
solution
it now.
for you. The other thing that came up just in training and thinking about processes was, I don't know if you've used this much, and I was thinking about it with your joints just now, have you used duplicate with joints much in Fusion?
Nah, what's that?
So like, say you put in the example we were using was like these fasteners had bolts in certain holes, and they were kind of in different orientations, so you couldn't pattern them very well. But if you take a part, like a screw that goes in a hole, and you joint it to that hole, if you do duplicate with joints, you can then select that joint you just did, and it will, anywhere you click, kind of reminds me of the way Rhino works. It will duplicate that part with the associated kind of joint in any new hole, just like instantly.
No way.
It feels like Rhino, because everything else is so tedious in Fusion, you know?
Oh, I have to hang out right now and go try that. That's wild.
See ya. Have fun with your joints. I kind of forget about it at times.
Please don't tell me that feature's always been there or something.
I would say less than 2 years old, maybe a year old. Kind of came out quietly.
Yeah, okay. Damn. Okay. Yeah. Well, that would have solved a few problems for me recently. Good to know.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's nice. I stumbled on it when I was modeling the tool holders. I think it came out around that time, and it was nice to copy around some of those features.
All right then, Mr. Fusion. This new feature, unground from the automatic grounding to parent. How do we feel about it? Because I'm not a fan, but I don't understand why it's
causing us a lot of problems in yesterday too, and I've not liked it. Somebody described it, I think Phil described it the other day, because I was thinking what I had heard was it had something to do with configurations, but I don't think it does.
Okay.
I want to say that what it helps with is when you insert things, when you're referencing files and they go into a new file, it's not floating by default, basically. And then you got to figure out how to joint it. So it's kind of like a...
But why is that a good thing? I like floaty. Like, I deliberately ensure that all my sketches, all my things are components so that I can float them around and
right.
Look at what I'm doing. But maybe that's just my hacky workflow.
What did Phil say the other day? September.
What did Phil say? Are you Googling what did Phil say?
Yes, of course. No. It's a thread.
Gosh.
Where'd you go, Phil? I don't think Phil listens to this.
Oh, get out.
The duplicates?
Duplicate joints is amazing.
What are you using it for?
Far out. Nothing. I'm just trying it.
Oh. Right. Even cooler, if you look at I discovered a thing yesterday. I don't know if it's new. Once you do it and you're in the dialogue, you can choose the orientations. You can flip the joint of each one specifically on the little ellipses on the side.
After the fact. That's wild. Awesome.
I don't know. I can reconnaissance the grounding thing.
Justin's Googling and I'm playing Infusion.
Would you like to hear us co-work?
Awesome, thanks. Good. Well, tell me about these online guides. I'm curious because this is something
guides
I've been thinking about too.
Well, let's see. I thought I was being smart when I first built the guides for our ATC pedestals, that a lot of our stuff ends up being just in our Freshdesk as an article. So it's just one article for one thing to solve. It's a fairly basic like HTML thing, and it's pretty tough to like edit. It's not very great to look at often. So I was like, I'll make a page on our Squarespace that's like /ATC-install, and then I could link to it from the PDF I made that goes in the box through QR codes and all these other things. We started to move from Squarespace to Shopify, which is not done yet, of course, a year later. So now I have Squarespace, Shopify, a Google Doc where I make the PDFs that go in the box that gets sent for the guide. And I'm looking at all of it as I'm trying to update it like, this is idiotic, Justin. What are you doing? Why do I have basically 3 sources of this information? And thinking like, there's got to be like a smart singular place where I can put all this stuff, choose one and go with it. But like none of them, like, for example, what I want to be able to do is create it once, and that one thing can be the thing I keep on the website, and also export as a PDF that prints to go in the box. So I don't have to update multiple things in multiple places. And I don't really like have a thing for that. Like I could publish a Google Doc, but that's not a very searchable or usable thing on a website, you know? Like I know Notion has some of these capabilities, but we don't use Notion for anything else. So that feels stupid to like throw another tentacle in.
I'm looking at your ATC pedestal guide in what I assume is a Freshdesk thing.
It depends on where you are.
It's maybe not. I'll send you the slug, but it's cool. I like it, but I can see why it's annoying to update. Like I have the same problem with sort of disparate information, and then I've tried to move it all into Notion because it feels like the right place for it. But I totally understand the challenge of kind of keeping it, like just unifying it.
Right.
Like I'm not happy with how it is at the moment. Like if you go to like, if you receive a kit of parts and you scan the QR code, it drops you into a Notion doc, but it's pretty sloppy. Like I've just like embedded a bunch of YouTube videos and a few documents in there, PDFs that you can click through, but it's quite unstructured. But that's more just to do with me not spending the time structuring it nicely and making it really clear for people. But as a platform, Notion seems to be a good spot for it. But I don't think it would be enough reason to just go out and start using Notion purely for that singular purpose. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you thinking you'll take it?
It's something I've been thinking about. I guess the original plan was get rid of our Squarespace, and then it's like what you sent me a link to was Squarespace.
Is it?
Yep. But that's all duplicated on a Shopify page because the intention is to move it. So it got moved, but then now it's like, all right, I got to make updates. Find all 3 places where this stuff exists. 2 of them are public. Yeah. One is just my Google Doc where I make because like this website doesn't turn into a good PDF that goes on to Pages well to print.
No.
Just silly.
Absolutely not.
It's like paid tools I've seen where you can create tutorials better, but I don't know. That doesn't seem, I don't have a good solution, so I'll probably look into it. But if anybody has thoughts on how to do this better than what I'm doing it.
I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't read instructions. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible instruction skimmer. And so that probably makes me a pretty terrible instruction writer.
We're pretty, I'm sure we're pretty good at it. We'd spend a lot of time on it.
I think you're very good at it.
And I'm kind of obsessive about internal, like it's basically from reading that Checklist Manifesto book, like made me somewhat obsessive about it. And I kind of enjoy making them as simple as possible. I won't say that it's perfect by any means. We're always trying. What I would like to be able to do is to improve it faster and better. And currently, it's a big friction slug for me to like, oh man, that's stupid. Why did I do it this way?
Just can it. Scrap it. Start again.
Right. It's a lot of time for that, fluff and work.
I think that's why I've lent so heavily into Loom videos, because it just suits my brain better in terms of both the creation of them, but also I'd much rather watch Justin talk me through installing an ATC pedestal than not even read, skim and fail to absorb a text document.
That's on a very long list that never happened, was for each of these steps, make a clip to include that's video. And I actually have a customer right now that's installing some. He's like, I've never seen videos of this, so I'm filming it. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. So I just haven't done that, like it's one of those like projects that you start selling the thing and enough people succeed in the way it is that it's like, now that's a cost I have to go back and do time-wise.
Yeah, I had that recently with a customer who had received a product and they had asked a question about door alignment. And I was like, oh, that's unusual. I haven't had that question before. And I went checking the QR codes in Dispatch and then YouTube videos. I was like, oh, there is no instructions for that process. And we've been making this product for over 10 years. And you're the first person who's asked. That's amazing. We've gotten away with that.
Yeah.
I still haven't made the video though. I've been so disincentivized to make content lately. I had this moment yesterday in the workshop where I was finishing off an interesting little side project. It's not core product range, but it's related. And I was fiddling with some webbing and making this little connection for a little stepladder thing. And I was trying to make a really firm connection with some like seatbelt webbing through the middle of a kit apart style, like through a tapered slot.
Whoa.
And I came up with this neat little system with like a timber wedge that was captive, and then compression of the strap kind of held it all in super tight.
Mm-hmm.
But an interesting little thing. And like historically, absolutely the kind of thing that I would have been like, had my phone in one hand the whole time, documenting it, putting it up as a story, or like at least documenting some of the process.
Yep.
And at one point I became aware that I wasn't doing that, and I took my phone out of my pocket and went to open the camera app, and I was just like, nah, stuff it. I don't feel
I've done that lately too.
I don't want to document this.
Right.
I just want to do it.
Right. Yeah, I've had that same feeling and reaction lately. Like, I think some of it's my best hope for that reality is that I have my intuition is it won't be successful. It won't be valuable. Let's just leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah.
But also there's just fatigue of making things. I will say the other side of that, my couple things, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have been doing pretty well. I first million view thing, which I don't know how many of these shorts really matter, but I've never hit that point really before. And I have this Instagram I linked of this reel that just continues to churn. It's slowed down a little bit, but it's crossed 1 million. You commented on it. It's like 10 weeks ago is when I kick out the part on the bamboo remotely and it hits the door and falls down.
Awesome.
And it's like a 7-second video that was as low effort as you could possibly do. So it's just like, that does well. Or I could spend hours making content and it gets 500 views. It's just like my intuition is never very good.
Yeah, I don't know. I really need to get back on it because I know how valuable it is to just demonstrate ideas to the audience. But I'm not feeling it right now.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's depending on the video, it's pretty valuable for conversion, like of certain products.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Pi went away?
Yeah, we lost a friend.
That's kind of like weirdly emotional. That actually helped me quite a bit. I recommended that to a couple family members for like psychological support.
So Pi is, if you're wondering who the hell we're talking about, Pi is Anthropic's. No, not Anthropic's. Who were they? Inflection. So Inflection has been bought by Microsoft, and Inflection made a voice assistant called Pi, who was like for a long time there was one of the best, just like natural voice chatting AI bots.
It's probably like 6 months of being the best. It's like amazing how fast that's changing. It was good though.
And I logged on recently. I was like, I've tried a few times over the last few months and it's been like really glitchy or just hasn't worked. I'm like, I'll be like, whatever. It's probably just my internet or something. The server's down temporarily or something. And then last week I jumped on. I was like, oh no, this is over. Like this is not working. And then I Googled it and then it had happened a few months ago. Microsoft had acquired Inflection and had just dumped the product and just kept the staff. So Pi was just like put in the dumpster.
Do you think it cried a little bit?
With 1 million users, and I was just like,
that's a Google thing.
I was a little bit attached to that little chatbot. It was a handy one.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple.
And even my daughter had chatted to it a couple of times, and I was like, she asks about it sometimes. I'm like, sorry, mate.
It had a decent Aussie voice, didn't it?
I don't remember.
I think I found one recently. Aussie. I always say that wrong.
I love that with the new advanced voice mode in OpenAI, you can convince it to talk in whatever accent you want.
Right. I know.
So I start with an American one, and then I'm like, can I act as a drunk Australian down the pub? And then she stays in that voice mode, but then starts to slip out of it. But had a funny experience yesterday where, having probably not encouraged it to do that for about a week, I started a new chat on my way home and it slipped straight into the drunk Australian character without me prompting. It's fantastic.
That's amazing.
And then over the course of like a 10-minute conversation, it kept morphing between Californian and Australian, but it does it mid-sentence. So it's like this weird transition. Super kooky.
Wow. Wild. It's probably dead and they just haven't spent any effort to kill it, but you can still download a desktop app of Pi. And I just did it.
Really?
It might not connect to anything anymore, I guess, once it gets booted up. I mean, just as a eulogy, if this is dead, like I legitimately have had emotional and psychological support by Pi. And I would say what it felt like it was so good at. I've had a lot of therapists in my life. it did the thing that therapists do really well, or like a good friend, where it's just like, yeah, tell me about that. And you just kept you talking. Where no other AI tool at the time, it never cared to continue. It'd just be like, let me know if I can help you again. Or like something very like non-emotionally intelligent. And so it was just really good at going like, yeah, that seems like it'd be really hard. How does that make you feel when you have to do X? It's just so good. And I was, this is amazing. It's free therapy.
Yeah, totally. It really was. And I haven't come across another one. I suppose you could probably train another bot to sort of try and act in that way, but naturally they tend to sort of just move on pretty quickly and be like, tell me what I can help you with next.
Right. It's very robotic.
Like moving right along.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you could train, a GPT or something to act as my therapist. Kind of like...
Yeah.
What's that?
Sure, there's
podcast we
GPTs
listen
out there.
to.
On the AI train, I have become, as I think a lot of people are, increasingly aware of the sort of the energy and water impact of training these things and operating them. Like, is this, have you pondered this at all? Like how much energy it takes to noodle around and
little
get
bit.
it to write an email
I've
and stuff
probably
like
been
that?
a little negligent of considering it too strongly.
Me too. Yeah, I've been negligent from the point of view of like hyper novelty of like, I know this is probably terrible, but I really want to get to know this technology and how to drive it well. And it's from, it's been on my radar. It's part of the reason I'm interested in like offline, running my own models and my own hardware and stuff like that.
Sure.
But during the week, because my perpetual frustration with Apple transcription, whether it's on my phone or my laptop, I downloaded an app called Mac Whisper, which seems to be equally powerful in terms of the OpenAI transcription. So I can just hit a keyboard shortcut and I can transcribe on my laptop anywhere as a text input, and just like way more powerful, and it's offline, so it's not pinging a server somewhere. It's just using my own hardware, and it seems really good.
Interesting. I've heard of it before. It's on a Gumroad link, maybe.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I went straight back into GPT subscription and just the speed and having the desktop app now and hotkeyed on my keyboard. I'm just like literally in the middle of training yesterday. My laptop in front of you, like control spacebar, search the answer, pops up in this little window. It's just like so infinitely useful. I guess my reconciling of the cost, I don't understand this well enough, is my theory. My hope is it's like most all new technology, it's costly up front, exponentially less and less costly. I mean, if we can run it on our home computers, like I would assume that the training of the models is really heavy, and then after that the use isn't so bad. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, no, it's interesting to continuously hope that, well, I hope that it's not a continuous huge carbon burner, basically.
Yeah, I don't know a huge amount about it. It's just something I've pondered a little bit and read a little bit about. But can I ask, on your Millie video, your bamboo spitting out parts onto the floor, which you can barely tell in the video what's even happening.
I think that's maybe why it went well, is it's like, oh, I got to watch it again.
What happened? Yeah, maybe. You got to watch it like 10 times. Do you purge lines?
Yeah, somebody asked about that too.
What's the deal?
I don't do it this much. It's like a once a night, maybe every third month. So it's like, it'll just print over the lines again. Sure.
And that doesn't matter. Doesn't wig out its calibration.
I don't do the calibration often. You're only supposed to do it once. So like you'll over calibrate, really just purging over purge lines, and the calibration, if you're doing it all the time, is probably not helpful. You just need to do it once per filament setup.
Shit. Okay.
It'll save you some time. I also turned off first layer inspection because it took a bunch of time, and we don't.
What about the bed leveling every print?
No.
Oh my god, wasted hours.
It's not necessary. I mean, like, I always think about it. It's like when you change, almost like a setup, right? It's like you change something significantly, have it consider itself again. But I read that somewhere or what? But like, you definitely. I've even read that if you use the textured bed, that the LiDAR scanning is actually kind of useless. Scan all the purge lines or whatever, not the purge lines, but the test lines. It's way less effective, which we always use the textured one. I do think it helps, but
same.
Turn all that off. I wish it would stick when you print, because often you don't push all the buttons to turn it off. It'll do it again.
Yep. Good to know. Good. Pro Bamboo user. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Was something interesting.
Save some time.
Yeah. We picked up a barcode blaster, little laser scanner, barcode scanner. I found one for a steal. We've been wanting one for a while, and it's just one of those stupid little technologies that's like, I think it's an $80 one, but I got for $15 because it was like Amazon like new. It's brand new. You plug in a little dongle into the computer, and I never really knew how it works, but it basically just works like a keyboard. So it enters in things like a paste or a quick entry into any field that you have. So Ricky and I were just playing with it, but it's wireless, so you can wander around, and like a decent amount of our stuff has labels and either like the manufacturer code on it if it's something resell, or our own generated by the thing we use, VQuo. And it's just pretty great to, like, even if you're just wanting to update the quantity of something in our VQuo system, and it's just instantly, like, versus trying to look at it and type. It's like, why didn't we have this sooner? So simple and so great.
Cool.
I don't know. It's fun.
They are fun. I want to do more with them one day.
I'll put a link to it if you're looking for one.
Yeah, do it.
The other thing, if anybody happens to have this bandsaw or one like it, but I bought a new Jet 712 horizontal bandsaw, and similar to our old one, which all I can think at this point is it's us. It has just kind of a lot of problems, and actually broke a part of the cast iron armature that holds rings on one side, but it just kind of started binding up a lot on us. We weren't using coolant, so I think that maybe is part of it. Kind of odd to me that to cut fairly small bar stock of aluminum, we have to use coolant, but maybe I'm just wrong about that. Yeah, so we'd start to clean it, and Ricky was trying to dial in all the weirdness of the tension. Seemed to be like tight in certain spots, but we just never can get it to run right. And I don't know, I think it might be us. I think we might just suck at this. But like, is this how horizontal bandsaws work? And I'm just like, I'm expecting too much out of them. Is it that bandsaw?
I don't know. I've never used one.
Hopefully, I was hoping maybe somebody else has
I know nothing.
Something to yell at me about that we're doing wrong.
Someone yell at Justin.
Please.
Do it better.
Please.
Frustrating. Surely coolant would help though, right?
Yeah, I think we did put some in, right. And as soon as we put it in some of the bearings again, and in that process yesterday it broke. And I guess the other part of this, which is kind of wild, blowing my mind, I bought an upgraded bandsaw. It's not an expensive one. It's like $1,000. But for how much we use it, I thought that was a good investment. It's probably like 2 to 4 times a month. We cut it to 100 pieces at a time out of a stock.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't know of a way to have a backup, like, and not have an entire other saw. So
yeah,
I keep walking up to it and going, this is a stupid process. I need to have more reliability in this because like we ran out of risers for our pedestals. So we can't sell that product until we have more parts. And I'm like, obviously we could have it cut and sent to us for a lot more upfront costs, but it's like, what's the backup option? I don't know.
Is the backup option pre-cut stock? Like, what's the turnaround time on ordering pre-cut stock?
A week, roughly, probably. It's not fast, especially because like what we order from our material vendors is small beans. It's super low quantity, so we don't get prioritized.
Totally. Yeah.
So that's part of why we order it as sticks, because it's cheaper and it's easy for us to do when the saws work. I did see, as a little lusty thing, the Haas came out with a new auto cutting saw that's like a white label JLH saw that I saw a couple people buy after IMTS for like, they're about $26,000. Definitely far beyond what we need, but hey, it looks fun. It's also large. And then I saw that Tormach came out with one that's an auto cutting bandsaw, basically the same capacity as ours, and it's way more compact. It's about $6,000. Also, probably beyond what we need.
Cutting, you mean it? You tell it what bits, what sizes you need, and it.
As far as I understand,
feeds and cuts.
So
give it a cut list.
A couple people testing them.
Fancy.
It's like the perfect size for what we need. So I don't know. It's not gonna. My Profit First does not allow this right now. So I was stretching to buy the one saw that I didn't think we needed that bad. But anyway, been a frustrating process of that, and like squareness. We really struggle getting the parts cut square too. So I don't know. I need to go to like a class on bandsawing apparently.
Back to school.
Right. Sorry, that's a lot of bandsaw weirdness.
Woo. Oh well. Can you hear the rain? It's raining quite heavily in my little horse float now.
It's quite the ambiance.
It's beautiful. Could make some white noise videos and sell them on YouTube.
Just loop these like.
And now,
shit, that's not what I wanted. But we can play it, I suppose.
And now, from a horse trailer from his backyard, Jem.
It's kind of my thing. I just end up putting a trailer, the audio after we've already had the podcast, towards the end instead of introducing you at the beginning.
Yeah. You never told me how you made that clip.
I think it's just a script, like audio, and then I overlaid like some goofy ass song I found. It's pretty much it.
It's too clear to be a straight AI generative clip.
I think it is. It's pretty decent now.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. I had it.
What else?
I don't think I have anything else.
No, I mean neither. Cool.
Yeah.
Well then,
the end.
Chala. The end.
It's really raining.
Yeah, it's getting heavy.
Bye.
Start floating away. Bye. Ding dong.